The stage lights come alive, bathing the room in a warm glow of red and amber. A faint hum of anticipation ripples through the crowd. Elvis Presley steps into view, dressed in his unmistakable black leather outfit that hugs him like a second skin. The slick sheen of the jacket catches the light as he moves, every motion smooth, deliberate, and charged with confidence. The band behind him is poised and ready, guitars tuned, drums tense, the air heavy with the pulse of expectation. A few fans shout his name, their voices almost lost in the electric buzz that fills the studio. Elvis flashes that familiar grin, the one that seems to hold both charm and rebellion, and grips the microphone stand. The opening notes of Jailhouse Rock burst through the speakers, sharp and alive, and the audience erupts. He leans into the rhythm with ease, the king of rock and roll reclaiming his throne under the bright studio lights of 1968. The sound is pure, raw, and thrilling, stripped of the gloss of big production and returned to its roots. The guitar riff bites through the air as Elvis begins to sing, his voice rich and commanding, smooth one moment and rough-edged the next. There's something timeless about it, something that transcends the years between his 1957 recording of the song and this live moment over a decade later. He taps his foot to the beat, his body naturally falling into sync with the rhythm. Every sway of his shoulders, every tilt of his head seems to echo the pulse of rock and roll itself. The camera pans across the stage, capturing the gleam of his hair, the shine of the microphone, the glint of sweat already forming on his forehead. The crowd is mesmerized, caught between nostalgia and awe as the song comes alive again before their eyes. As the performance builds, Elvis's movements grow more expressive. He starts to playfully shift his weight from one foot to the other, hips moving in that familiar way that once scandalized audiences and changed pop culture forever. His lips curl into a half-smile as he locks eyes with a woman in the front row, the kind of look that blurs the line between stage performance and personal connection. The band is tight, feeding off his energy. The drummer's sticks blur, the guitarist leans into his strings, and together they create something that feels spontaneous yet perfectly in control. The sound is old-school rock, unfiltered and full of attitude. Elvis throws in a few syncopated steps, subtle but filled with rhythm, as if the beat is pulling him from within. Every movement is natural, effortless, alive with charisma. The studio audience claps along, the sound of hands and instruments merging into one heartbeat. The camera catches him from multiple angles now. A low shot that makes him look larger than life, a close-up that captures every glint in his eyes, and a wide view that shows the intimate setting of the '68 comeback special. It's not a massive concert stage, it's a small, smoky room where the AUD. The band kicks in again, and the familiar riff of Jailhouse Rock fills the air with a rush of energy. Elvis stands center stage, his black leather glistening under the lights, every movement full of rhythm and control. The crowd claps in time with the beat, eyes locked on him as if he's the only thing that exists in the room. He grips the microphone stand loosely, letting his body flow with the music, hips rolling subtly to the groove, shoulders pulsing with every snare hit. His voice cuts through the mix, smooth, confident, and just a little bit raw, as though the years have only deepened its power. The way he sings each word makes it sound both playful and commanding, like he's daring the audience not to move with him. His lips curl into that half-grin that has defined an entire era, and a spark flashes in his eyes. The crowd responds instantly, clapping louder, shouting his name, feeding him their energy as he feeds it right back. He starts to move more now, stepping away from the mic just long enough to groove with the rhythm. The leather creaks softly as he shifts his weight, knees bending in sync with the beat. It's not choreographed, it's instinct, a kind of natural musical motion that flows straight from the rhythm into his body. The band behind him is tight and alive, the guitarist throwing in small flourishes, the drummer hammering out a steady rock and roll heartbeat that drives the whole room. Elvis turns slightly, flashing a grin at the lead guitarist, then swings back toward the crowd with a playful shake of his head. There's an ease in the way he performs, a mixture of rebellion and joy that only he can carry. His energy fills the space, bouncing off the walls, pulling everyone into his rhythm. The camera catches him from a low angle as he steps forward, looking larger than life, a living symbol of rock and roll. Every small movement becomes magnetic, the tilt of his chin, the flick of his wrist, the way he leans into the mic and then pulls back just in time to flash that smile again. The audience can't help but cheer louder, their faces lit with the same fire that he brings to the stage. Some sway in their seats, others shout the lyrics, but all of them are completely under his spell. He doesn't need pyrotechnics or elaborate choreography, all he needs is the groove, the beat, and that irresistible charisma. His voice grows stronger with each line, deep and rich, cutting through the music like a blade. Every "Let's Rock" hits harder than the last, building toward a crescendo that shakes the room. In the middle of the song, he adds a small improvisation, tossing in a playful aha that draws laughs and cheers from the crowd. He spins slightly, his boot tapping against the stage, and the light catches the sweat beginning to shine on his forehead. There's something timeless about it. Elvis in motion, leather gleaming, voice echoing through the room. A perfect image of what rock and roll was meant to be. He leans back into. The final moments of Jailhouse Rock are pure electricity. The band drives hard into the last chorus, the drums pounding like a heartbeat, the guitars snarling with vintage rock energy. Elvis stands at the center of it all, the spotlight catching the glint of sweat on his cheek and the glossy black of his leather jacket. His voice, slightly rougher now from the sheer force of the performance, cuts through the sound with a mix of grit and power. He leans into the microphone, his posture strong and commanding, eyes closed for a second as if feeling every note. When he opens them again, there's a flicker of fire, that unmistakable Elvis spark, and he gives the crowd one last grin before diving into the final line. The audience, completely caught up in the moment, claps and cheers louder, their rhythm following the beat as the song races toward its explosive finish. He doesn't just sing the last verse, he performs it with his whole body. His knees bend, his shoulders roll, his hips sway in perfect time with the rhythm. Every motion is fluid and alive, a dance that feels both spontaneous and perfectly in tune with the music. The band senses it too. The guitarist leans in closer, picking harder, the drummer driving the final fills with unstoppable energy. The entire stage vibrates with sound and motion. Elvis lifts the microphone off the stand, gripping it tightly as he prowls a few steps forward, commanding the entire room with a glance. His leather creases with each movement, the light bouncing off it like sparks. He's not just performing a song, he's living it, embodying everything that made him the king of rock and roll in the first place. The atmosphere is electric, half concert, half revival, a moment that blurs the line between performer and audience. As the music swells into the final refrain, Elvis throws his head back and belts out the last Jailhouse Rock, with everything he has left. His voice rings out, rich and raw, echoing through the small studio like a declaration of triumph. The band crashes into the last chord, a perfect, sharp ending that hits like a burst of thunder. For a brief moment, there's silence, just the sound of his breathing and the faint hum of the amplifiers. Then the room erupts. The audience leaps to their feet, clapping, shouting, cheering his name. Some whistle, others laugh in sheer amazement, but every face is lit with awe. Elvis stands still for a second in the middle of it all, chest rising and falling, a look of satisfaction crossing his face. He lets out a quick smile, half humble and half knowing. He doesn't need to say a word, the energy speaks for itself. He wipes a bead of sweat from his brow and gives the crowd a small nod, almost like a quiet thank you. The camera zooms in on him, catching the gleam in his eyes, a mix of exhaustion, pride, and joy. The lights shift slightly, warm amber tones surrounding him as the band eases into a gentle fade-out. Elvis glances over at the guitarist, gives a P.